Welcome to the Skin Deep Podcast, everyone. This is your go-to source for everything skin health and self-care, especially when it comes to eczema, dermatitis, dry, and sensitive skin conditions. I'm your host, Makisha Banks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. Again, please join us every week where we have expert-led conversations with me and another expert or myself, really here to assist you with achieving the skin that you're looking for, whether that is through self-care practices, skincare rituals, or any other type of healthy habits and wellness practices. This day, I'm going to be going over something that I didn't realize I was kind of experiencing until I started to really reflect in my meditations and understand what was happening. I call it Skin PTSD. I know we are very familiar with the term PTSD, but I never realized that there is such a thing as skin PTSD until I started seeing a pattern consistently happen over and over and over again. So today I really want to talk about skin PTSD and how to retrain our brain in order for us to stop sabotaging our health and stop sabotaging our skin from repairing and healing itself. Because I realized I'm at this point where my skin is just discolored. There's no eczema, there's no irritation or broken skin, but yet my body still is acting like there is broken skin or there is eczema. And when I started to do some research and really look into it and reflect on it, especially more in my meditation, I realized that it's like my body is still acting in a way that it's from post-traumatic disorder. And that's where I realized there's a thing called skin PTSD. So I went on the web to see, what's out there and what kind of information I can find. And again, there's not that much out there. There's a little bit of information, but there's not a lot in terms of it being correlated to eczema and, these skin conditions that we're, really focused on in this podcast. So today, my main goal is to focus on, for example, going over skin PTSD, what it is, what's happening with it, what the body is doing, treatments that are going to help you get over skin PTSD. There's such thing as NLP, which I think we're pretty familiar with that term in the therapy industry. There's also things such as pattern behavior, really understanding how to break pattern behaviors. And then again, neuroscience. We know so many things of quantum physics. We know so many things that are really being discovered in the science world of proving how energy has so much to do with our behaviors, our thought processes, our emotions, what we kind of deal with in general. So, I want to go through those things because I feel that's really important to discover and understand that our body does have skin PTSD. And because of that, this is where we have a bit of things we have to tackle so that we can get to that finish line of seeing our skin, come to a better state and repair and be in a better state overall. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So what is PTSD? So PTSD, in terms of the therapies that we are familiar with when people are having reflections or emotions that just keep recurring over and over again. So that's considered as post-traumatic stress disorder. And post-traumatic stress disorder is things that have happened in the past that were very traumatic, very, very emotionally engaged, where our body kind of holds on to that as a marker within our energy, if we call it. So for example, you've gotten a car accident. that amount of energy and that emotion that happened in that state, in that moment, is recorded into our cells and in our emotional state and into our nerves, into our nervous system. And because of that, what ends up happening is you become almost afraid of doing certain things going forward, whether that is you don't want to drive in a car any longer, you don't want to drive on that street any longer. You have emotions leading up to that day, that moment that happened, and it keeps recurring over and over again, and it's affecting your nervous system. So what ends up happening is that you are replaying that scenario in your body consistently. Your nerves are replaying that experience within your body consistently, and you almost can't get over it. There are very high grades of PTSD, as we know. People that go to war have those same disorders or conditions, and it can even happen through other emotional things, whether it is through school bullying, whether it is through food disorders, whether that is family dynamics or domestic abuse or emotional abuse. Like it doesn't always have to be something so dramatic that we've been told or we've seen in media, where it's usually associated with people that are going retirees from obviously veterans that went to war. It could also happen in the most subtlest things, which is again eczema. And that's what I realized, that I was going through that because I started noticing my skin was having this reoccurring itch attack, as we call it, every time I would sit down to do my work, or every time I wanted to record a podcast, or every time I'm done, I'm about to work out, or I'm done my work. Like, I would get these itch attacks that would just randomly come out of nowhere, and it would be highly associated with work stuff or things that could make my skin irritated. And I didn't take it in that I was going through PTSD, but associated with my skin. And some people don't think it's actually a real condition, but if you ever take the time, this is what made me realize how I was going through it. I was taking the time to journal and log my skin situation. So when I was getting an itch attack, why it was happening, when it was happening, and what was I doing at the time. Whenever I would get really irritated or anxious, I would just log it. So I have a journal where I'm logging my skin, reoccurrences or things that were happening, and the good things too. So, when I was, why my skin was feeling so great today. I didn't have any itch attacks. I didn't have any irritations. What was going on? So, when I started looking at that overall recording and so forth, and I started getting irritations every time I would have to do a very important phone call for Everbella, or when I was meeting a new podcast guest, I realized I would get really anxious and my skin will start to burn and irritate me. And majority of the areas that it would irritate me would be on my wrists or the back of my legs or the inside of my elbows. And I just was like, why does that always happen? I didn't realize that pattern until recently, because my skin's been on the right trajectory. It's been healing. The color of my skin has been coming back. So I know I'm at that finish line where I'm like, goodbye skin. I mean, goodbye like skin rash, appearances like that discoloration that I'm not liking. So when I realized like it's going away, I'm like, okay, we're on the right path. I've been eating great. I've been meditating. I started signing up for hot yoga again now. So that I'm really proud of that I'm doing. But for some reason, I was getting this itch attack whenever I would sit down to get ready to do some work. So it almost as if, because my work was what brought me to this state of having this eczema episode, as I call it, it's like my body was not allowing me to feel relaxed when I had to do work again. And now even talking about it with you, it's like, holy crow. Like, that's some shit right there. Excuse my language, but that's some shit. You know what I mean? Like, holy crow. when I realized my work, because of that high stress point that I kind of put myself through, is what activated my eczema episode, my eczema, exploding, and obviously that chronic grade of stress that I was going through. It recorded that stress within my cells and my nervous system. And because it recorded it, now when I'm trying to get back into a regular rhythm of doing work, I now realize that when I do it, my skin just like pops off, like something is activated. And I before didn't notice it. I was like, okay, like I gotta get this. It's so messed up. You feel weird. Where you're like, oh my God, I gotta get this work done. But you're scratching, you're scratching, you're scratching, you're scratching. And you're not really taking it in. You're just like, yeah, I'm healing. I know I'm still having, I was still within like stage 2 to 3, inflammation to proliferation stage at some points, a couple of months ago. But now when I'm legitimately in stage 3 going into stage 4, which is proliferation stage into the maturation stage, my skin's not, having issues. I don't have broken skin. I don't have any of that. It's just discoloration. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, why am I getting an itch attack right now? I don't understand why I'm having that. So, I had to sit there and reflect and understand that actually my cells, my nervous system is still active, and it's still trying to protect itself from my work. It's still trying to tell me that I'm not safe when I'm ready to do work. And that blew my mind out. It made me realize that I still have some work to do in terms of helping my nervous system calm down, which will in turn not activate an itch attack or my skin being inflamed when I get ready to do work. So the things that I'm familiar with in terms of different therapies that you could do is, again, you have psychotherapy where you can talk to a therapist, there's coaching, there's different people that you could do there. There's meditation, you can do that. There's qigong. There's a multitude of different therapies that are available now that will help you understand how to really calm down your nervous system and get your nervous system back to a state where it feels safe being associated to different things that you're going to do throughout your day. And that was really important for me, because when I go to the clinic, I don't really feel too activated. Sometimes I feel a little bit, but majority of the time I feel okay because I'm connecting with people, I'm talking with people. I am not in a space where I'm really pushing myself and trying to achieve. I'm more so there to serve, and I'm helping people. So now when I'm looking at it from another perspective with my own personal work as being the founder and CEO of Everbella, it's a different perspective. I am pushing, I am trying to achieve, I am opening new doors, and I am trying to get to new levels and heights with that business. So my body is still feeling like it's not safe to do that work. It's still feeling as though it's in fight or flight. So I had to look at, okay, what modalities could I use to help me feel safe and break this pattern? So we call that, again, when we're looking at NLP, so let me get that correct term. It's neuro linguistics programming. You're looking at overall what the body is doing in terms of its nervous system, its behaviors. So then that way you can see where a pattern is and you can break that pattern. So that's why I was looking at pattern breaking or pattern linguistics. Like, I wanted to understand, how could I break this association of fight or flight with my business? Because at the end of the day, my business is so important, and we know I cannot give that up. We have to find a way to reprogram myself. So again, when I looked at the different types of, different types of modalities, the one that always makes sense to me is breath work. But the problem with breath work, we are very familiar with box breath, which is 4 counts of inhale, 4 counts of holding, 4 counts of exhale, 4 counts of holding, and repeating that cycle. That's one way. Then there's the other way of of meditation or breath work, which is, I call it Kundalini breath work, where you're really pulling in that air and pushing it out really quickly. So it's like a kind of breath work. And again, some people call it the Hoffman style, and we're very familiar with that. I consider it as Kundalini breath work, because when I look at all of these different studies and different ancient traditions, that's where it stems from. That's where it originates from. And so when I'm very much into that yoga world, and, Kundalini is so associated with that, and knowing that you are really pushing and pulling that breath in and out. So the difference between those two different styles of breath work is that I find I'm activated when I'm doing Kundalini breath work versus when I'm doing the box breath work. I find my nervous system calms down dramatically. So I had to stop doing Kundalini breath work because I found that was not necessarily helping my nervous system calm down. If anything, it kind of made me want to, it made me activated. Don't get me wrong, there's so many great benefits from that, but because I was doing it for such a long time, my body wasn't associating that with a new way of calming my nervous system down. It was like, yeah, good for you. Keep doing it. Yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep itching and so forth. So it wasn't helping me. So I had to find a different way of breathing that would help me calm down. And yes, don't get me wrong, when we're meditating, initially, we're breathing in and out nice and slow, but it still wasn't bringing me to that place of I need to calm down. And that's because my body already is associated with those types of breath work. My body is already familiar. There's already a pathway that's associated in my brain for that, but it's no longer effective for calming my nervous system down. So I had to find something new. I had to create a new neural pathway. And that's where box breath is. It changed my life. It changed me completely because I could do it anywhere, anytime, and no one would even know that I'm doing it. So for example, like I said, it would be 4 counts of breathing in, 4 counts of holding it, 4 counts of breathing out, 4 counts of holding it, and then again 4 counts of breathing it in, and doing that same process over and over again. That changed me completely. It's to the point where when I was having an itch attack and I started doing that breath work, it was weird. My body all of a sudden became very lightheaded for a second, and I could feel this cooling sensation over my whole entire body. And it was a little scary in the beginning because I was like, what the hell's happening? What the heck's happening? But then after, when I started realizing my nervous system was calming down and I wasn't feeling that need to itch, it was like, oh, okay, I'm safe. And it makes me a little bit emotional because I remember at points where I would feel so guilty for scratching myself. And I was like, there's something wrong with me. Why can't I stop? Why can't I stop? Why can't I get my work done? And it's because it wasn't because I am weak and I couldn't do it. It's because there's a pathway, a neural pathway that says to me, this does not feel safe. Do not do it. And that's why I had to skip a couple of weeks and not record an episode, because I couldn't record. I would set up, I'm getting ready to sit down, and then all of a sudden I just felt like this heat take over me, wanting to just escape and run away. And that's where it was sucky, because I had so much good things that I wanted to talk about, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And then once I started discovering doing that box breath to reset my nervous system, that's when I realized, holy crow, I'm having I have a neural pathway that is telling me that I'm no longer safe to do my work and I need to reset it. And since focusing on doing that, it's been great because I realize that I have more control over my nervous system. I have more control over, these itch attacks that are just associated with an old behavior or old experience that's no longer happening in this current moment. And that's one thing that we have to remember about PTSD or skin PTSD, is that we need to remind ourselves that that occurrence that brought us to where we had this bad experience, it's no longer happening anymore. We know, we are aware, we accept it, and we can move on. And when you say those things to yourself, you slightly kind of give yourself that encouragement that better days are ahead. Better moments, better seconds are ahead, because it's an old thing that happened in the past that's not happening now, and we can rewrite what's happening right now. So again, that's neural pathway rewriting, but it's also a behavior change. You need to interrupt it immediately. You got to interrupt that behavior, so then that way it's like you instantly change it, and then it rewrites itself, and it will continue to almost want to bounce back, but you have to stay persistent. You have to keep being persistent with it. So sometimes I'll sit there and I'll be doing the box breathing for maybe about 20 minutes. Sometimes it would be 5 minutes. Sometimes it would be just for a minute. But you have to keep doing it until you override that behavior. So it might be difficult. You might end up crying, frustrated, pissed off, want to punch something, but you have to continue doing it until you interrupt that behavior. And the body is now saying, okay, we're good. This is no longer, a bad thing. We can, we can move on from it. So that's what I was doing, was box breath breathing. I was doing a lot of breathing, so then that way I could just interrupt that behavior. The next thing that I was doing is, again, there's Qigong, there's Tai Chi, there's different ones that you could use to help you. I've been doing a mixture of both of them, more so Qigong, because again, it's associated with breathing and moving that energy. So in the morning, I would do that just to kind of help my nervous system calm down when I know I'm going to be doing a full day of work. So I would do the Qigong just so that I can center myself and move the energy. It's so proven how Qigong helps to shift energy flows within the body and the electrical state, and also your aura around you. I find, because a lot of people don't associate, energy with eczema, they just think it's only the gut, but it's really everything and then some that all play into it. So that's why, doing a physical body movements is going to help. So I kind of mix together Qigong and also a bit of tapping. When you're tapping on different meridians within the body, you are resetting the electrical state. You're pushing and moving that energy, that stuck energy or stuck chi within the skin or within the nervous system, the nervous tissue, to keep moving it. So when I started finding the back of my legs were itching, I'm like, oh, gotta tap it. Not abuse, not like not hitting yourself like that, but like lightly tapping it. And when I was doing that all throughout my body, I realized, oh my God, that feels so good. I moved it. Deep breaths, and then the 4 count in breath breathing and so forth. It allowed me to just kind of feel centered, but also like move the energy, because it's really just stuck energy within our different meridians throughout the body that just needs to be moved. It all needs to be moved. And once we do this, again, neural pathways, we're resetting it. We're creating new neural pathways and resetting our nervous system to making it sure it understands, I'm safe. Everything's okay. Don't worry about it. We can keep moving. We can trust what we're doing, and it's okay. So you have to consistently do it. Now, not every single time you're going to be able to start tapping yourself wherever you're, you're not going to be able to do that while you're having a conference call with a whole bunch of people and be like, yeah, that's great. You can't do it, but it's good to set up and prime yourself before you get to that call. So priming your body before you get onto the call and just get yourself ready to go. You're like, I know I'm going to get into it. I know I'm going to be nervous. I know I'm going to have this issue, but let's get ourselves ready for it. So then that way we can tell ourselves that it is okay. We are safe. So that's another modality that I've been using. So box breath breathing, tapping, and qigong. The next thing that I was actually using to help with my just nervous system was hot yoga. So I started getting to hot yoga a little bit more because I find that's what helps with calming my nervous system. So not just regular yoga. Some people love regular yoga and I think it's great. For me, regular yoga is not good enough. Like I do it at home and sometimes like I just feel like I'm not getting that emotional state to calm down. Like my nervous system won't calm down. So that's why I had to put myself in an environment where there's other people and there is that heat. Because one, we know heat therapy is amazing for our sebaceous glands and it's great for our pseudophorus glands. So our sweat glands and our oil glands, heat is amazing for it because one, you're exuding toxins, so you're excreting so much toxins out of the skin. So whether that is salts, bacteria, sugars, you're really getting rid of bacteria that's stored up into your pores and in your cells. And when you do hot yoga, because you're sweating so much, it gets out of your skin. Here's the caveat to it though. When you are doing it for the first time, one, you're going to be itchy as, I don't even want to swear, but you're going to be itchy as crap because there's so much bacteria and so much buildup of that bacteria within your pores that when you get rid of it, that salt that comes out onto your skin, it's going to feel irritating. You're going to want to sit there and just scratch and give up. But I implore you to just don't give up. Being around those people made me accountable to start and finish that whole entire session. And that's the reason why I really like doing hot yoga, because I don't want to fail, because somewhere within me, that primal part within me is like, I'm not going to give up because I don't want to look like a loser in front of everybody else. I'm not going to leave. But again, please remember, if you have to leave, leave, because no one needs you passing out. But something within me is up to that challenge, so I don't want to leave. So that's why I did the hot yoga. But what I realized more and more when I was doing the hot yoga, and I was doing it about 3 times per week, that itchiness out of my skin was reducing. It was lessening from yoga practice to the next one to the next one. It was excruciating painful the first time I did it because, again, there's so much salt that comes out of your skin that it just irritates it. But when I went to the second time, I hardly had that itch. It was a little bit here and there, but not too much. Then I did it again and did it again and did it again. So the more you do it, you're building, first of all, you're rebuilding skin tissue. You're retraining your nervous system so that way you're not, feeling that fight or flight within that program. 3, your skin is detoxifying, so you're getting the benefits of that. And that heat is also forcing your body to create new skin cells because the old ones are dying off because you're sweating them out and you're really breaking down that muscle tissue, and then it's rebuilding itself. So the bad tissues are pretty much getting excreted. So when you're looking at that, that's why I wanted to start again doing hot yoga, because that was allowing me to rebuild my skin better, really help with my sebaceous gland and my pseudophorus glands, like really activating them to become more fortified. And then 2, it was helping me really retrain my nervous system. And I was part of a community of other people that, really believe in what I believe in. And that's one thing that's really important when you're on this journey of PTSD and overcoming it, is being a part of a community. We want to sometimes shy away from other people because we're embarrassed, we are hurt, we are in a very low vibration, but it's about being part of a community that's going to help us overcome some of the challenges that we go through. So that's why it was so important to me to go back to being part of a yoga community, because it helped me in many different ways, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. I was like, no, wrong one there. So, that's why I think it's so important that we, look at all these different modalities and see which one is right for me at this moment. If you're still in the inflammation stage and going into proliferation stage, yoga is not important at the moment. It's right now is just your skin behaviors and your nutrition that's more important. Maybe just working out once or twice a week is good for you in terms of resistance training, but not overdoing it. But then, when you're getting into that proliferation stage and you're pretty steady at that and there's no major broken skin, then that's probably a good time for you to do, the hot yoga and add that heat therapy into your routine. So, that's where I find looking at each modality and when to plug it in is really important. For skin PTSD, these are what I realized I needed part of my repertoire, my rituals to help me really overcome my skin PTSD. And don't get me wrong, I'm not over it yet. I'm not 100% clear, but I find it's getting better and better every single time I sit down to do something for our podcast, or when I'm doing a meeting, or when I'm working on my business. It's becoming easier to do without as much resistance as I did before. So I hope this short but sweet episode really helped you understand what skin PTSD is, how does it happen? When does it occur? And why does it occur? And what modalities are available for you to use to help you overcome your skin PTSD? Like, I want to recap on a couple of things that you can use as a takeaway from this episode today. And the first one is to log down your skin journey. Log it, take pictures of it, videos of it, because when we look at our skin, we don't think it's getting better. We don't think it is, because our eyes see something different. But when you're taking photos and videos of your skin, you see something completely different, because your camera is not biased. Your camera is not being more in tune to something more than something else. It is just unbiased black and white picture or color picture. So that's why it's good to take videos and pictures of your journey and log what you're eating, log what what your emotions were like that day, what triggered you that day. Did you have an itch attack? Did you have a skin success? Did you have a food success? Did you binge on candy? Because you don't really realize what caused that issue today that might have been the trigger from yesterday or the day before, and so forth. So that's why it's important to log all of these things, so that way you have an idea and you can start to collect the dots. You can start collecting things that are very much synchronized, or they are interconnected. And for me, I didn't realize my overall work was the reason why I was having itch attacks. It was never happening any other parts of the day. It was always happening when I started doing some work for my company. Okay? Now, once you realize what is the trigger for your PTSD in terms of your skin PTSD or your itch attacks, the question is now, how can I retrain my brain, retrain my nervous system to feel safe with what is triggering me? Maybe what's triggering you needs to go away. Maybe it is actually not a good behavior, which it could be like, I'm eating too much sugar. That's a thing that needs to be gone, right? You don't need that. If it's like, okay, I'm triggered when I get home from work because of my environment. I don't know what it is. You need to find a way to figure out what that trigger is and see how you can retrain yourself to be associated with that trigger in a safe way. So for me was having a breath work practice, the 4-count box breath breathing. 2, it was setting up my environment where I felt comfortable. So lighting a candle, some incense, doing Qigong as a quick practice before I, started to do these phone calls, but I would do my breath work once I started feeling that trigger coming into place. I also did tapping so I can move the energy around my body before I started to do it. Again, if I'm just working on my own, I would do the tapping. But if I'm in a phone call with some people, I would try to do slow breath breathing so it can calm my system down. And then I also implemented hot yoga into my weekly body practice, my movements, because it was, 1, helping me rebuild my skin and helping me heal the color in my skin. And 2, it was also helping me overcome that nervousness, that anxiousness within my body, and allowed me to really find a new modality that's going to help just regain that control over my nervous system. And not every day is going to be perfect. Let me tell you, there's not a perfect day. But I look for those small wins where I realize, okay, I did good. My itch attack only lasted 5 minutes versus lasting for an hour. Those are little things that I look for, the small wins, because those small wins make you feel like you're accomplishing more and more every day. So that is the whole idea about skin PTSD. I hope this helps you in any way, shape, or form. Please send in your questions, put in your comments below. Let us know what you think about, your journey, and if you have experienced PTSD for your skin, and how are you overcoming it. I would love to know if it's closely correlated with what I've dealt with, or if there's something else that you've done that I could probably look into myself. Thank you again for being here. Again, this podcast is sponsored by Everbella. Everbella is a natural skincare and self-care wellness company that empowers individuals to make self-care rituals to help them with their skin, whether that's eczema, dermatitis, dry, and sensitive skin conditions. I'll see you in the next episode. I appreciate you being here. Love and light. Thanks for tuning in to the Skin Deep podcast. Don't forget to download your free guide to our 10 hacks to great skin. Just check the link in our bio. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Have an amazing day, everyone, and enjoy your self-care Sunday.